When everything seemed pointless, I deliberately went to see the world and watched how a bricklayer swung a hammer into a boulder. Maybe already 100 times, but without producing any cracks. And on the 101st strike, the stone split in two. A beautiful journey has been conveyed in a book entitled Atomic Habits. However, what is the deep message that the writer wanted to share with us? Well, ladies and gentlemen, do you know that the result of what happening to the stone is a proof of what journey that has been done towards itself? First smash, second smash, and the third smash is not strong enough to divide the stone into two, but after so much venture, the stone split in two. My name is Hilary Wiwasavan and I am from SMA Negeri 1 Pangkalan, Kelinci. A book that I've done through it and overcoming my mind. Tiny changes, remarkable result. How could this happen? How can the sentence be realized? And what is the real meaning of the previous stone story? As long as we live from an early age, we have started doing small things to wait for the big things that we will get later. This is also what happened to the stone recently. Slowly but surely, a series of blows divide the stone into two. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the pounding on rock continued, and it reminds me of a word we're discussing today. Continued, routine, two words that can define a word: habits. Habits and the way of human life have a close relationship. The way that human brain stores energy is of course through habits. It means habits allow us to perform tasks without realizing it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look. A study states that children who diligently clean up tend to be more successful. This study was conducted by Harvard University and has been conducted for 75 years and was followed by a former American president, John F. Kennedy. The essence of the study states that people who diligently clean up their life are more organized, are more independent, and very easy to work with. Well, ladies and gentlemen, habits have a very small impact and very invisible in a short time. But if you do the habit more and more, we can see the result of what habit that we instill. So that, ladies and gentlemen, like the saying goes, many a little makes a miracle. Something small can produce something big. In fact, I will agree that the real key to success is about how you maintain your habits. Well, do you know Bill Gates? Yes, of course, you know, right? Well, Bill Gates likes to wake up earlier in the morning. There is a reason why every successful person always wake up earlier in the morning at 4, 5, or even 3 a.m., ladies and gentlemen. Do you know why do they do that wake up early in the morning? Because they know that every successful people had to be ahead of others. Well, ladies and gentlemen, do you know that 64% of CEOs in the world wake up earlier in the morning to do an activity called me time? Yes, they do me time. Why do they pretend like it is important? They do the me time because there is a condition where it is called by less distraction, where 95% of people haven't woken up, and there is where they start their activity earlier than other people. Well, ladies and gentlemen, achieving target must be done with a proper process, right? If you think furthermore, will your habit bring a good or bad in your result in the next day? Well, ladies and gentlemen, target. Target. Have you ever had a big target that you want to achieve? How and what efforts did you make to achieve that target? Sometimes people think that to achieve something big, you need a big effort at once. But the question is, how is it possible for a drop of water to erode a very hard stone? Which, even if you think again, there is a big question mark. Is it really possible? Yes, it is. Let's talk about target setting for a moment. All of us, of course, have goals, right? Whether it is to be an expert in a skill, grow in our careers, or improve our well-being. But sometimes people who make a big target feel overwhelmed because the gap between where we are and where we want is very far, ladies and gentlemen, and even it seems like very insurmountable. But so we postpone that in achieving that target, we should take action, thinking that we must have an extra time to do the start with a good habits that we want to do? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I would state again once more that it is not just important for we setting a target, but it is also important for us in focusing on target. A target is only a destination, a dream of horizon, but it is the target that makes your journey worthwhile. That's why it is important for us to be able to fall in love with not only the target, but we also have to have a big concern with the process that we make. Well, ladies and gentlemen, right now we are talking about the future that we want, about what kind of happiness that we want every day. And ladies and gentlemen, every day we are given a choice in choosing what habits we will achieve, because our destination will pretending who we will be in a few years from now. As a Generation Z, I am very easily distracted by other things, so that I make a note and a sticky note that contain message and motivation for myself for me to develop in the next day. So that, ladies and gentlemen, what is your choice? Something you want big, or you want a small thing that can bring you to a better version of yourself, that can receive for you a stage of your success. You decide. My name is Valeria7, and I am very feel free to bring my thoughts to you. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.